What's up, everybody? Out here working on the Camaro again. I know it's been a while since I've made a video, but I have been steadily chipping away at all the little things that need to be done in this car and slowly but surely making progress. This video is going to be just covering the drive-by-wire throttle pedal bracket that I made. Once again, I'm copying somebody that's way better at this stuff than I am, and I have a lot of respect for the time and energy that they put into development. But for 160 bucks for the bracket, I figured I'd give it a shot on my own. And in full transparency, 160 bucks, I made maybe $10 an hour. So you can do the math on how long it took me to make this bracket, and I'll show you what I came up with. Turn you guys around so I can process. So I looked at a bunch of different brackets on the internet, few from Detroit Speed and Engineering, a couple from off-brand from Summit and Speedway Motorsports, Speedway. Anyways, all of those brackets were flat. They didn't have any adjustability, and this one from AVS Motorsports seemed to be the most thought out with the most adjustability, and I figured I would need the adjustability to get things to my liking and try to give myself as much wiggle room for my inevitable mess ups. So what I did was I took a bunch of pictures, screenshotted them off the internet, and printed them out and taped them together. This bracket is a 3-piece bracket with this little guy mounting to where the factory throttle lever pedal came through for a carbureted motor, and then this flat part right here with this little leg mounts to this pedestal, and then these two bolts are existing bolts on the edge of the steering column. I'll show you those real quick. Excuse the mess, I work here. So this right here is a little bracket. It's nothing more than just a piece of 1/8" plate with 2 1/4" nuts stacked on top of each other and welded in place. And then these bolts right here, and then there's one more up there that's kind of hard to see because of the light shining through, but this bolt and that bolt are the ones that I used as reference points, and I also used them for measurements for some simple math to try to get me in the ballpark of the actual size of these brackets. So I know in some of my earlier videos I had mentioned that I used cross multiplication to figure out dimensions on my pictures, and it's super easy to do. For instance, oops, zooming in and out as I hold my cell phone. For instance, the measurement between here and here was 3.5 inches, and the actual measurement on the car was 3.8 inches. And so knowing that this is 3.5 inches, I measured a couple of various things, like the vertical distance between, see if I can turn this around, get rid of the glare. But so on this drawing, the vertical distance between these two bolts was 1.5 inches. And so I have my two knowns my two measurements from the drawing on this side, and I have my one known. And to find out what the actual distance between these two bolts should be, with respect to these two, you just cross multiply. So 1.5 times 3.8, and then to solve for x, let's see if I can do this. So you'd end up cross multiplying. Man, this is hard to do. Cross multiplying, you'd have 3.8 times 1.5 is equal to 3.5x. So divide both sides by 3.5. That cancels out, allows you to solve for x. And then you have this stuff over here, which, I'd try to do that math in my head or try to do it right now, but it did equal roughly 1.5. If it's a little over 1.5 because this 3.5 almost cancels out that 3.8, roughly. So you can figure it out. I actually figured it out. I don't know what it is right now, and I'm not going to take the time because I'd have to pause my camera. But basically, the distance between those was actually pretty close to 1.5. So I repeated this process on basically all of my measurements. I used these 2 bolt holes for everything in this plane, and then on these vertical ones, I knew the distance between these 2 holes because they're on the factory throttle pedal bracket that came with it. So I was able to find out roughly how elevated the rear part of this bracket was supposed to be. So anyways, that probably may or may not have made sense. But this is what I came up with at 1 in the morning when you're trying to figure this stuff out and laying underneath the dash, which isn't terribly comfortable. It's not super fun, but I enjoy the process, and I was out here listening to my audiobooks, and I came up with this bracket that's fairly functional, and I spent a tremendous amount of time coming up with the actual angle. And here in a second, I'll show it to you installed. All right, so now that I got it installed, that's what it looks like. And there we go. Hey, now you can see those locating screws a little bit better and see the pedestal, how it sits up off the floorboard a little bit to support that. And I had previously installed the factory pedal and kind of marked roughly the angle that it was at and the location on the side of the transmission tunnel. And then I had also marked, you can see, these 2 little black lines was the side-to-side position of the pedal. So I actually got pretty close to where I wanted it. The pedal sits up a little bit higher than the factory one, but I have a full range of motion, and I should even have room for carpet, jute, sound deadening, all that nonsense. So anyways, this is the world's worst advertisement, so telling you to go out and buy that company's throttle bracket and not waste 15 hours of your life trying to make it yourself because you're a cheapskate. So anyways, let's see what else. Oh yeah, I think it's been a while since I've made a video, but I'm more or less done patching together the transmission tunnel. Again, I found a picture off the internet and thought it looked cool. And this is probably from Detroit Speed and Engineering because I copy everything that they do because they're one of the best. Or it could be the Roadster Shop, who I think the guy that started the Roadster Shop, no, never mind. Anyways, the Roadster shop makes amazing stuff. So that's the transmission tunnel that I copied. Yeah, that's where I'm at on that. The last thing that I just remembered is that when I was making the bracket to mount around the steering column that the adjustable part fit on, I made the template out of poster board like I always do, and I made it in 3 pieces so that I could get the angle and the amount of standoff right so that it would sit level on the floorboard. I do this with almost every single part that I build custom copied, because it's a whole lot easier to cut up a ton of poster board than it is trying to bend metal. And seeing as how I've yet to make it right on the first try, poster board's a lot cheaper and easier. The other thing that I found that I kind of like is this Toolmaker's blue dye. It's a layout fluid. You just spray it on your scrap plate steel. This is the plate steel that I've used. And then when you scribe it, it stands out really well. So gives you a really easy line to follow. So I just threw that down there, traced it. I clamped it onto my sawhorse so I wouldn't so it wouldn't walk away from me, and cut it out. And yeah, that's about it. So stupid little throttle pedal bracket took me about 15 hours to make, and that's probably one of the reasons why this project's taken so doggone long. But unfortunately, I have more time than money, and I like the process. So I will try to make some more videos in the future. If you want me to try to attempt to do a time lapse where I get in and out of the car 100 times or climb out from underneath the car 100 times, let me know in the comment section and I'll give it a shot. Could be entertaining or really frustrating. Hear me yell at myself about how I'm not doing it right the first time. Yeah, so that's it. The next video will be on the exhaust, which I'm super excited about. And I have almost all the bits and pieces collected. And yep, that's it for now. Later.